Hey there, a huge thank you to all the names on screen right now. The renegades who click the join button down below and contribute to the channel financially in other ways also. Thank you so much for that, my friends. We also stream live at twitch.tv/Let's Suffer Together, but if you do enjoy the content, there's always the like button, subscribing and ringing that bell so you're notified about our fresh content most days. Enjoy the show, my friends. Hey there, welcome back to Noita. I'm Suffer of Let's Suffer Together back in the mountains, my friends, and today I want to glorify and put on a pedestal a little bit. Just a little bit. The classic and wonderful long distance cast. Now, some of you may know its basic uses, and I've kind of already got a build ready and waiting. It's a bit too advanced for what I want to go into straight away. So the long distance cast is one of the best and most wonderful things you'll ever find in Noita. Now, we've talked before about how the add trigger is one of the best spells in the game, and truly it is. You can do amazing things with this, and we'll show you a little later on as well. We'll combine, because what I'm talking about here is, you know, using one thing to use another thing in conjunction with each other to make awesomeness. But firstly, we must praise and love the long distance cast because it costs 0. I've broken my controller, so I'm going back to an old one. And this one sucks. I've realized and I remember exactly why I don't play with this controller anymore. In the inventory, it's all over the place. But the long distance cast costs you nothing at all, like 0 mana. It also speeds up your wand very slightly with a cast delay. So on a basic level, the long distance cast will, you see that little pink is better in the dark. You know, it will give you that much length. The long distance cast is like a death trigger. It gives you that amount of distance and instantaneously makes, you know, a trigger point at the end, which will always be activated at that distance. Say you have a, you know, a projectile that digs, it will clearly function in rock. If you do a spark bolt, just a regular spark bolt in there, it will appear. It technically won't appear, but it won't actually, because it doesn't dig, it won't actually exist. So, on a basic level, long distance cast allows you to, and why it's so damn good. Let me just find someone. You know, hide behind terrain safely and kill people. There's a few other uses we'll get into, but keeping your distance and a functional distance and a consistent distance. Having consistency in Noita and knowing what your stuff is going to do is half the battle. Chaos is great and everything, but if you're on a long run, you need stuff that functions righteously. Of course, you can shorten it technically, you know, which means you can lengthen it as well. However, you could lengthen it, or you could just get multiple long distance casts. You remember when I said one of them will launch no matter what, even in the wall? The great thing about that, and the thing we're going to extend on today, and why I think it's a bit underappreciated, and I'm making a video about it to glorify it and put it on a pedestal and, you know, glory, you know, praise the long distance cast. If you fire one long distance cast into a wall, the other one will still go through. Get the angle? Yeah. The other one will still go through uninterrupted. So say I've got the chainsaw on this, and, you know, no matter what, it will get through. And you'll be able to safely, again, the important thing, we're talking about enemies with projectiles here, like saving yourself from those, because when you get later in the game, the real problematic folk are the mages, and enemies that if you get face-to-face contact with, will end your entire career. Firstly, though, alright, Stu. Say you've got something like this. We've put a nice little, you know, let me just take these off. Especially the homing. So we've got a long distance cast teleport. And I can just come out, go back in, hello. You know, escape. Escape artistry is beautiful. Like going through terrain with a teleport automatically without interruption. Getting into safety, having that, because normally with a regular teleport you can't do that. Yeah, it's a short teleport. I mean, you couldn't do that with a regular teleport unless you took the time to dig it, and that's chainsaw digging, by the way, on that one. But being able to, one, keep the holy mountain intact, amazing. instead of doing the old, you know, the old regular teleport where you shoot diagonally and sometimes you collapse it? Let me, there's a short, I'll go back and show you what we'd normally do without the, I should put the long distance back on, it'd be easy to travel, wouldn't it? Hey, just saying. So, normally, what we do, and let me just take everything off. Luckily, my controller is playing ball. Normally, what we do is this, you know? But this is a bit finicky, but then it collapses if you go in. If you go in this little section here, like, it collapses, so. Having a long distance makes it super easy, which is very nice. Always has been. I can go back up to the surface. I want to go back up to the surface. Thank you very much, because also... Hold on. All right, I was about to say, why is it not firing like normal? I've completely fucked it up. Also, I picked up a refresh, which... Oh, long distance has come off again. I'm back and forth, me. Right. So I've been able to get through, again, terrain. Check mark. Done. All right. I think it's because I put the old reduced lifetime on again. Hey, but if you've got an increased lifetime, you get a longer distance cast. Shoot more stably, shoot more securely. So again, on the end of a long distance cast, you can, again, stack it, and get a really long distance safety. So you could kill enemies with that much terrain in the way, which is also known as safe. Let me just get to a certain place, because when it comes to the more dangerous elements of your adventure here in Noita, the real game changer is in the boss fights. And there's one specific boss fight that's a real little bastard, to put it lightly. We're going to go to Mecha Colmy. Spoilers, by the way. Just in case you weren't aware. We're going to go to Mecha Colmy. Now, a few things you need to know. He has a giant laser beam that will destroy terrain. It's on you to move out the way of that. And when we're talking about the long distance cast, to re-find terrain to hide behind. Again, all of these kind of tactical little bits of advice and why it's so important requires you to function like a regular Noita player and actually do things about your situation. I'm not gonna hand you the keys to the city, my friend. I'm not gonna give you every little, you know, detail. Some of these things you need to figure out yourself, but hey, what I'm telling you will help you get a large way to home in Black Hole. Hell yeah, bro. We'll go down, Mecha Colmy. This is probably going to hurt slightly. Oh, the acid is going to hurt, but, you know. A lot of ambrosia around there, as far as I can see. Beautiful stuff. I do like traveling like this. It's silly dangerous, but, you know, it's fun. Especially with the black holes, again, they're homing in on the enemy. Right, so we're in the power plant. A notoriously dangerous place that I am actually going to make myself safe here. The enemy will attack me, regular enemies, and I don't want that. We're just going up against the boss fight. And before I need to do that, I need to give myself more love. So if I give myself 4 more love, the regular enemies won't attack me anymore. Give myself 5, just make sure. So, we can stack long distance cast, as we've already discussed. And I'm going to leave a video in the description about the add trigger that we discussed before as being one of the best spells in the game because of what it can do. Add trigger makes the next thing after it a trigger. Plasma cutter pierces, so when the plasma cutter hits the target, because it pierces, if it doesn't pierce, say I put a thunder charge after, right, you're gonna have to get inventive with your mind hole. Actually, yeah, chainsaw only. Hello, chainsaw only procs once. So if I triggered the chainsaw, when the chainsaw hits the target, it will blow up and thunder charge because it's triggered. It's hit a target, it's hit terrain, it's hit an enemy. So it'll thunder charge. If I have a piercing shot that lasts a while, for every frame that the plasma cutter hits the target, because it's triggered up, it will release a thunder charge every frame. So, where's that dude? He's here. We're behind terrain, we're safe. 2 explosions, more than 1. That's at least partial success. Do we have homing? We have homing on the plasma. I should... If I was smart about this, I'd have homing on the thunder charge. I don't necessarily need to, but we do. Because the problem we have, when I'm shooting like this, because I'm not fully used to the distance yet, I will shoot the long distance cast, you know, and the plasma will hit something, whether it's a wall, and it will release a thunder charge like that, without hitting the enemy. So it's, you know, you want it going to the nearest dude. But think about it. When you're up against a big boss who does 1,000 damage just by launching missiles at you, let alone the dangerous beam he sends your way, let alone the fact he can delete your bullets. But think about this tactically in this fight. A lot of the times, a lot of people will just go in with a trigger and send a massive payload via a trigger. You got to start thinking in terms of payloads, right? This is a delivery. All this is a delivery system. This is a delivery system. It's delivering the thunder charge, which has explosive and electric damage. You know, the plasma cutter does damage, but, you know, it's still a delivery system for a massive amount of thunder charge. What I could do, because the long distance cast is quite a long way away, if I have electric and explosive immunity, I don't really need to worry. But think about it. The plasma cutter doesn't actually last that long. If I send the plasma cutter always, you've got to remember, always that far away, the plasma cutter will never be closer than the final long distance. It can't, for instance, accidentally on the second or first long distance. It's always that distance away. Terrain does slow down long distance cast, but still, terrain will be in the way. It's highly unlikely, or almost impossible, especially if you put a reduced lifetime on it. The plasma cutter will never hit you. You know? You have no real fear of that. That's the beauty of the long distance cast. You know? It's sending it a specific distance away. It's consistent. With a regular trigger and a regular timer, you do not have consistency. Right, for the sake of argument, let's just say this long distance cast was a trigger and these two didn't exist. Let's just say. Just say this was a regular spark bolt trigger. If I shoot at the ground, the trigger immediately puts the beam in my face, and because it's hitting a target, old controller, the thunder charge will, you know, blow up in my face. Oh man, right. My old controller broke today, which is not great. And again, I understand why I almost full-on chuck this controller at a wall in frustration. But we're gonna meet a real dickhead, right? He has a beam that deletes your projectiles. If we can find it. He shoots missiles at you and a beam. Now, we can't do anything about the beam. He will shoot through terrain with that. No problem. It's our job to know that, and because we know it's gonna come at me, to avoid it. That's our one job here. We've made a wand. Ignore all the other damage. We've made a wand. Oh, I need to go a bit further down. Oh, no. I think we're roughly gonna be alright. Eventually. Our one job is to avoid the beam he creates, because that's the only real thing he can attack me with this one system. Oh, we were close to him, and I'll explain why when we get there, if you haven't figured it out, right? That beam, that does a lot of damage. You see this red thing that's following me around? That eats terrain. Sorry, it eats my projectiles, and if I shoot the plasma, yeah, it just deletes it. I can't shoot. When he's got that beam up, which he... I didn't mean to kill him that early. But it shows you how effective it is, right? It's actually a secret win, that. So, we can't fuck with the beam, so we move, stay behind terrain. The missiles he shoots, if we're behind terrain, he's not going to lock onto you properly. You know, if you've got some thick terrain behind you. With his little section of projectile eater, if we shoot directly at him, the projectile just gets eaten. However, with the long distance cast, because we know it's consistent, we know it's a certain length, if we appropriately add length to it, or take it away, we can always shoot to the side of him to get this plasma cutter to hit him from the side instead of straight on, and then deliver the payload, while being safe behind the old terrain. It's kind of the same philosophy for Master and where mages exist, you know, or anything else. The power you have in your hand with long distance is extreme. It's just silly. Yes, I've been here before. I did another video when it wasn't that good. Sue me. So yeah, again, when you're talking about endgame, where mages will fucking kill you, and they are some of the only things that can really trouble you, if you have a shit ton of HP. Liquids as well, but I'm not here to talk about liquids, you know? I'm just not. So again, if you're behind terrain, delivering the payload, the terrain takes the shot, you know? Or you can at least use... Oh, sorry, yeah. You can at least use terrain proactively in advance, you know? I'm not going to shoot the Zuko's there. But of course, these guys aren't firing at me because I've got more love. You've got to use your imagination that, you know, I am being shot at from all directions, and I am solving it, you know, with the glorious and the wonderful long-distance cast. But think of it as a payload delivery system with added benefits and added safety in mind. And how can you make yourself safer? Of course, if you've got repulsions and stuff like that, that's great. However, don't assume you're fully safe, as you've probably been aware before. You've probably had repulsions and shields, but you've still been polyed by a poly shot, right? Now, if you were hidden behind terrain with a long-distance cast, I bet fuck that didn't happen, or wouldn't happen. You know, you can, if you pay attention. Of course, Noita requires you pay attention. I'm not here to give you, like before, I can't give you a muscle memory. I can't force you to pay attention. If you don't do either of those things, you're fucked regardless. I can only give you the technology to help you along if you're willing to put in the time to survive. And I'll leave the ad trigger video in the description, although you should have really got what's going on if you're, you know, understanding anything I say about anything in Noita. Although, if you are brand new to the game, you've had a bit spoiled. Congratulations. Look into long distance cast, you know? Say a lot of what I'm saying isn't really making sense because you're new to the game and everything. Keep an eye out for multiples of these. You can, even just one of them is highly effective, as we showed before with a teleport. Oh, you bastard. You're letting me down there, game. You're letting me down. But just for travel, you know, going through walls quickly, getting safety. Like, getting behind terrain in the first place. If you have a long distance on a teleport, and then you shoot down there, you know, get to new fresh terrain, get behind safety, shoot down, get behind fresh terrain, shoot down. Hey, there's some creative ways you can survive, use a long distance cast, and it is literally, I wouldn't say it's completely underrated, but I don't think people use it possibly to its fullest extent. I think people more likely use time as triggers, as payload delivery systems instead of the long distance cast. I'm going to leave it at that. If you have any questions or have any further things to say about long distance cast, like good things for people to know, any questions, always feel free, my friends. I've been Suffer of Let's Suffer Together. We stream live at twitch.tv/Let's Suffer Together. It's been a pleasure to have you. I hope you've had a wonderful day, a wonderful weekend, wonderful weekday, whatever time or space or shape it is, and wherever you are. Hope it's all looking good, you know? Stay chill. And I'm going to bugger off because I'm tired. Like, I'm really, oh man, this weekend, because I've done the 33 orbital boss no hit run this week, 9 streams in a run, 39-hour run, and we finally got it done. The all boss 33 orb no hit, man. I still haven't really mentally processed it as, you know, the insane achievement that it is, but that'll be uploaded in its entirety, like all night. Technically it's 10 streams because one of the streams cut out at one point. Unedited. I'm just gonna lump the so the history's there. The entire 39-hour run will just be there. I'm not editing it because it'll take too long and it'll wipe me out. What I am going to do, however, I'm going to edit a short highlights video explaining roughly what we did, some of the very, very close calls we had, like, pixel moments where we nearly got screwed over, and the boss kills, which includes, again, the reason I'm making this video is because of the success of the long distance cast in the no-hit run and how it helped me kill bosses, pretty much all of them. Apart from Pit Boss, who we cheesed within the first 5 minutes of the game. I need to redo that cheese Pit Boss video, because the first one I did was completely fucking scuffed and terrible, and people probably had to work it out themselves. I just let you know it was possible. In the end. Anyway, guys, thank you for taking part in today's video. Staying all the way to the end, you champions, you. Hey. There's always the like button, subscription, you know, YouTube shilt kind of deal. Do what you feel you need to. It really helps out the channel, though, and I want to do great things, you know? Hopefully I've already done fucking great things, considering, you know? But, hey, check us out on Twitch. Have a nice day. Comment section. Sleep now. Bye, guys. Take it easy. Much love.